several days since you've been gone.
I tell everybody this was a once in a lifetime event. Something about it. I put this at the top.
I am pulling through the town of Chihuahua? I don't know how to pronounce it. It's the small town before Colville. Nice little quaint town. There's a Safeway. I'm supposed to meet Jason at a Safeway in Colville. So, getting close. About, I don't know, 15, 20 miles maybe. I see the mountains out there. Starting to get a little hilly. Here's Colville, quaint little town at the base of the mountains. I need to find me a Walmart. I might need to get me some propane tanks. Columbia River. Man, that looks like my old truck.
So this is the last place to get fuel, right? Except for if which I hope we do, we're out on the res, then there's a gas station out there. But we'll probably take Mark's rig and use his fuel. Here, we're just gonna head out. I'm gonna stop a few places and point out a few things on the way up. Okay. Just to show you a few different things.
Are you enjoying the view?
Oh, we haven't even started to go up yet. Oh man, it's just... All right.
Almost to the Canadian border.
From here on up, it's a dead end, and
sounds good.
that's where we're going.
Finally getting to sit down. Got the campsite all put up and got me some coffee going. Whew, I haven't eaten all day. Well, I snacked, but I've been driving most of the day, so I'm gonna have me some eggs and some coffee. I am very, very happy about that.
I want me some coffee, need me some coffee, I love me some coffee.
Got my first night in under my belt, and I was a little bit tired last night, but I did have a recorder log sitting right up there. There were some gentlemen here camping 2 or 3 weeks ago. One of them was John Baranchuk and Jason Miller and Mark Gilmer, and they said that they had a few things happen while they were here. A tent over there may have had something circle the tent in the middle of the night, and they heard some. There's a little gravel flat area up there that they all heard some footsteps up there one night. So I spent last night sleeping with just a recorder there kind of pointed up in that direction. You guys know how good my recorders are and what they can pick up. So I slept here. Here's where I slept, nice and comfortable, because I've got my tent set up as my kitchen. And it's worked out really well to use my tent as the kitchen, because I can zip the door down and I don't have to worry about flies while I'm cooking. But here's the Set Power cooler ice chest. So far it's been working really well. Keeps everything at 39 degrees. I got me some chocolate in there, my eggs, creamer, all the stuff that needs to stay cool. It's worked out really good. And then I've got a huge portion over here that I just use for dry goods. So you can see those are my dry goods. But you don't have to cool the whole thing. You can only cool one half at a time if you want to. Okay, now here's the other part. Look at all this stuff. I've got all this equipment that's charging and going, and the reason I've got the generator going is because I just ran the coffee pot. Here's the Jackery and my laptops. I'm getting ready to go over. I'm going to download the audio from last night. I did hear a thing or two, but I've got to listen to it. I need to go over it, because when you hear it live and then you're trying to process it after the fact, you're like, was that a knock or was that a rock? But when you have it downloaded, you can go over it over and over again and determine what you heard, rather than just relying on memory. When you hear something, immediately it becomes a memory, and so now you're having to rely on your memory. So, and a lot of times that's confusing, and I've misinterpreted lots of things using, with my mind like that. So that's why it's important to use this technology to stay on top of what's going on. My campsite is right up in there behind those trees, nice and shady for most of the day. At the very end of the day, as the sun's setting over here in the west, just a little bit of sunshine. It's just fantastic. You couldn't ask for a better scenario. And I've got a 4x40 thermal scope for sitting in this location at night, and here's the area that I'll be able to scan across with that 40 times zoom scope. But take a look at this area. This thing's supposed to spin on its own, but it often loses track of me. So, but it's a cool little addition to the equipment, to so I'm not always having to hold the camera. So this is now my second day, but it's Jason's first day. Jason just led me out here the day before, and then he went home, and I spent the first night by myself. So Jason just arrived out here on my second day, and we have to sit around and get to know each other. What's up, boss?
How you doing?
Good.
I like your little setup. Not what I expected.
It's homey.
This homie.
It's homey.
Nice. It's nice. I just had to take some notes.
All right, everyone, we're gonna just set a game camera up here. I cleared a path. You've got a trail back here that stretches around the tops of these ridges for about 5 miles, Jason says, and it's a wild trail. It's not easy. So, in reference to where the tent and everything is located, this seems to be the most cover coming from that direction, which is the east, correct?
Correct.
So coming from the east, this is the trail. You can see it come down over this berm, and then it would open up into here. So I spent a little time clearing some of these branches, and you guys have seen my log cameras. I'm going to go ahead and just set it there. Jason is giving the field of view where he first can see the camera as he's coming up over that rise. And this would be the view from the camera. So see how you can see him just poking his head up over that berm?
So right here would be the first visual sign, or first place you would see it is right here.
Okay, so
If I step back, I'm still going deeper down into the tree line.
yeah.
So you got to pop out, and by the time you're right here, you're caught.
Okay, so you can see this is a trail, but it is a really overgrown trail. So let's just assume that this would be the most logical place, given this berm would be the best way to stay hidden is, behind a berm and just pop your head over. So let's just give them the benefit of the doubt and say this is where they would want to come in, given that the escapability from this point is much easier than up on the side of the hill or whatever. So there's the camera right there, and there's the camera right there, and I'm going to deck it out with the branches. You guys know I have holes cut in it for all these branches and stuff and then before bedtime I will put batteries in the camera and slip it back into the log, and this is basically where she's going to sit to monitor that area. You guys know the drill. We got to be sneakier than they are. Easier said than done. Okie dokie. What do we got going on? I think that's good enough.
That blends in perfect. It looks like a natural, it looks perfect, it looks natural.
Right on. Well, we'll know if it works. Me and Jason are gonna go ahead and get one of these logs set up, parabolic logs. We've got a location back here on the east side of camp where they've had 2 different occasions where they have had heard some whoops. So we're going to just assume that if it's happened twice, then there seems to be a comfortable position over there where something can come in to make said vocals. So we are going to hike over into there and hide one of the log recorders. Hopefully at the very least we will, even if we don't hear any vocalizations or a whoop, it would be nice if we just hear movement, maybe footsteps, maybe a branch break or something to that effect. But it all starts with strategically placing one of these in the right spot.
At all.
All right, this thing is armed. We are recording.
Excellent.
It is on extremely. It's going to pick up some distance stuff. So
Looks good.
right on. We are ready.
Let's take a walk.
The first night of many good nights.
I agree. Perfect weather. Now, as I was mentioning to you earlier, where we're at here and then where we're going to move to is not going to pick up any of our chatter back here at camp. And even when we were camped, my tent was right here, it didn't pick up any of our vocals.
You don't know these recorders.
That's true.
I'm telling you. When I put it down on a laptop tomorrow, I'll be like, hey, there's you and me talking.
I'll watch what I say then. But so this little ridge here, it continues and it drops. Oh, maybe a mile, easy walk like this,
Yeah.
and then it just dumps straight down. So the two whoops we heard came from our right. There's no way any of us were able to guesstimate the distance, but it was clear enough that it wasn't an echo.
Well, hopefully we'll also hear anything coming up out of that bowl.
Yes. So when we get down here, you'll see how it's almost like a parabolic mic. So what I did when we were here is I had cameras along here to see if anything would sneak up, of course. Except for the last night. I took the cameras down that day, the day before. Crappie
Nice.
right here, and of course it's just a little too dangerous to place it there, anywhere right in here. So we have it, the spot that we've been using is over here.
I think I'd rather stick it up in this small pine. And my only reasoning is more than likely something will be moving up this ridge rather than coming up this steep. And I would, at the very least, I want to get some footsteps if that's the least we can get. So I'm wanting to kind of be up here where maybe there's more of a travel route.
I agree. That's sounds good. Let's come get a visual of this over here, just for footage. So you have this bowl shape. Wow. And
Woo!
you never know what might be.
Stay away from the edge.
Yeah. So we were putting ours over there,
Dude, you're way too close to the edge for me to be happy.
What's
Get
that?
back. You're way too close to the edge for me to be happy.
I got you. So hopefully catching any sound that travels from down there up this way. But your idea of catching footsteps sneaking up makes way more sense up there.
And I'll still catch vocals. If there's vocals coming from down there, we'll still catch them.
You got it. Sounds good.
Man, that is awesome. All right, there she is, ladies and gents. Let it do its magic.
And this finger, this ridge line runs down, and it's just an easy walk up to come take a peek on what we're doing up there.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Well, what do you think about just setting it on that log? Setting it on that stump? Because I want to catch some more up there too. I want to make sure, even though it picks up 360 degrees, I'm just so anxious that I won't, what if something stays in the wood line up here? I just want to make sure I got it all.
There you go. That looks more natural.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Here we go.
Yeah, so coming up through there. And he heard it back here. Walk this way. So what I heard is I'm laying this way. So my feet are towards his head. So I had to sit up. He heard it. He said he heard it come this way. I heard it back in there. So what I think it did was came in early morning. It was about 4:30 in the morning and came in from somewhere quietly, but then all of a sudden let itself be heard right here. Crystal clear. Crystal clear. And Mark was in his rig, so it wasn't him.
You actually have a game official friend who does the necropsy of wolves whenever there's a predator problem with ranchers.
Correct. Or if somebody calls in something that they believe was killed by a wolf. So he comes in to do the investigation, the necropsy / autopsy. Earlier this year, still winter, snow, I was walking up a road and we struck up a conversation, and he told me about this mountain over here and what happened when they were setting up a grizzly bear trap. So that mountain over there has grizzly bears. It's a known area for problem grizzlies, where they're just the problem.
Well, and I just want you guys to know I could probably throw a rock that far.
Oh, easily.
So I'm a little worried. But
oh, easy chuck one over there. So he goes, we set up a bear trap because we wanted to trap one and collar it. And they had to bring in the bear trap with a helicopter, with a Bell 406. So they brought in the helo and they dropped it in a certain spot on and or around that mountain. So time goes on, the alarm goes off, the trap gets set. Him and his partner go up to the mountain. They know the road that gets them as close as they can to the trap. And they let the hounds out. So the hounds have to run down first, go down there and do whatever they do with the grizz before they walk down to do the trank it and collar it. So the hounds take off, howling and howling and howling. They dump down, and all of a sudden, all the hounds comes running back, screaming, squealing, scared, you know what. And they were all trying to get back in the back of the rig, back in their cages. So Officer so-and-so and his partner, they're like, what's wrong with the dogs? What could have scared them? So they worked their way down and they found that the chain that was wrapped around the base of the tree holding the trap, the chain had been broke and the whole trap had been rolled down the hill.
And it's one of these big enclosed traps.
Correct.
Wow.
One of the massive ones, not the little tiny ones where you catch the little medium brown bears or black bears, excuse me. But this was a big one to catch and collar one of the problem grizzlies. So they put 2 and 2 together. He tells me what he believes broke the chain. You can only assume, it's not proven. So from this point on, me and a friend, we are trying to make our way to the trap itself. We know the area. He gave the...
So it's like down in a ravine or something?
Yes, it was pushed down. It rolled downhill.
So they didn't go investigate the trap itself?
No, they got out of there.
Now that would be interesting.
That's what me and my partner, my research partner, we are trying to get to that exact spot. Now I have the GPS coordinates where I was given the spot where the trap was laid or placed. Getting there is frustrating because it's very difficult and there's not many the officer would not give me the exact route. He just gave me the pen and said, go do what you got to do. Because he knows what
He knows you got a relationship with the people on the res and you've got access. Okay.
Correct.
Wait till the end. What the fuck? That was behind a briar thicket on a ridge where we were following the 6-inch tracks, the little tracks. We think it was the mom and the little one bickering.
That sounds like primate.
I know, it sounds like a piece of the Sierra Sound.
Holy shit.
That was in Missouri. All right, everybody, this is looking behind Jason and myself. We're actually laying on our backs looking up at the sky. And we've been here for about 10 minutes chatting, looking at satellites. And now I'm just scanning the woods behind us and just seeing if I can see anything. But got any takers? Are there any takers back there? I got nothing.
Come on, you suckers.
Aren't we that interesting? You're starting to embarrass us that we're not very interesting. All right.
Are you gonna show yourself or? Okay.
I'm seeing something over there a little back to the left and behind, but it's not anything that's moving. It's just
You know, when when a cigarette lighter doesn't have any butane, but you can flick it and make the spark.
Yeah.
I saw like that type of flash back in there.
Uh, and I can show pictures and stuff too. Well, the first one I want to talk about is the first night when we were walking on that logging road, and we laid back, watched the stars and the satellites and the shooting stars for a while, and then we had the flash of light, and we both came to the conclusion that more than likely it was probably part of the Perseid meteor display that was going on at the time. So I want to lean towards that as being a logical explanation to the flash of light that we saw. Doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that it gives us something logical to look at. But there's a second component to that. When we came out and you were using the thermal, you were still kind of unfamiliar with how to use the recording parts of that thermal that you were borrowing from Mark. But I went over to my campsite and you went out onto the plateau there, that we pull out onto, and you were just viewing the mountains across the way. And then you found some interesting things in the sky and you called me over. Tell me the first thing that you saw, and how you experienced that.
I was looking through the thermal, switching between modes. So white hot, dark, uh, the other different modes on his thermal imaging device. When I got to the red mode, red meaning red heat or hot source, I was like, what is that? And I took the thermal down and I looked up at the sky and I made sure that there was absolutely not a single cloud in the sky. Now, you and I both know that was a cloudless night,
Right.
zero clouds in the sky. So I was like, what the heck? I kept looking up at it, and with the naked eye, nothing. So I looked up again and I switched between the different modes. And when I switched between the different modes, it was not there. It was only apparent to the naked or to the eyes in the red heat mode. So I'm just like, could that be just heat moving through the air? A heat, but why wouldn't it not show on the other uh, modes? So I'm steadily studying this, and out of now these look like clouds, not thunder clouds, not cumulus clouds, but just these little layers of clouds, horizontal. And I'm looking at the largest one. Out of it, not behind it, not through it, but out of the largest reddish thermal image came this 3-dot triangle. Best way I can put it is it was 3 dots, and it was red heat, so it was hot, but it would fluctuate between red and kind of dissipate a little bit, but reddish white. But between 3 dots, there was a line, so it made a perfect triangle. I'm watching it, and it it made just these sporadic movements. Nothing like, okay, first of all, it wasn't no satellite. It wasn't Starlink. It wasn't no airplane. Uh, this was something that just an anomaly. I don't know what it was. That's when I called you over. I was, yeah, hey, come here, or whatever. I barked over there at you. And I'm at the same time, I'm trying to hit these two buttons, record, record, please record, please record. And I couldn't get it to record, but it just kind of made these zigzag motions, went up behind us where we were camped at, and kind of just off to the west and disappeared. I still couldn't get the device to record.
Did you ever take any still pictures with it?
I tried to. I was I hope they're on. I hope they're on there because it doesn't. It'll say image captured, but I was so frustrated looking at the device, hitting the buttons, locating this image again. I won't know until Mark goes through it, hopefully tonight.
Okay, I want to go ahead and talk about me showing up at that point because
Yeah.
I walked out there onto the plateau that you were looking at the sky, and Jason is correct. The sky was crystal clear, nothing but stars. It was really a spectacular night sky for us to look at. So the first time I looked through the imager, it was weird because I saw at least three clusters of clouds, and each one of these clusters of clouds had heat emanating from them. So the red that was showing up in different layers of these clouds showed that there was heat somewhere in the center of these cloud formations that you couldn't see with the naked eye. And that was weird to me. And even though I didn't see the triangular aerial things that he saw, I did see things in the air circling and going around and possibly entering the cloud areas and so in my mind, trying to just be nothing but logical, I'm like, can that possibly be birds? Are there birds? Yes, there are birds that fly at night. That there's birds that hardly land at all, like seagulls and things like that. So, and they'll sleep while they're flying. So that's not completely out of the question. But the fact that we couldn't see it with our own eyes, but in that particular color spectrum, you could see it. And that is weird to me. And just the fact that these things flying around, even my logical mind wanting to say they could be birds, they weren't they weren't just flying across the sky with some place to go. It's almost like they were kind of hovering around these cloud systems. That's the whole thing is just weird to me. So I'm hoping that he's got some footage from that where he was struggling with it was somebody else's thermal imager, so he was struggling with even knowing how to use the buttons, and so he tried. So hopefully we might have some images from that, if not a video. The gentleman who owns the thermal is going to try to get those to us if they're on there. I hope they are, but I'm telling you, it was interesting.
Well, after you left, I stayed there and I'm watching meteors. I'm watching all sorts of stuff in the sky that was not visible to the naked eye. And I was sitting there watching. Now, I'm just going to use this term very loosely, just as a standard definition. Out of the largest cloud was not orbs, but just some sort of circular objects were coming out and just taking off, and almost like an aircraft carrier shooting off F-18 Hornets flying off, go on missions. And some were coming into it. Correct. So it was red, in the red heat mode. And I'm following it as best as I can. Now this is in the atmosphere, so there's no way for the thermal imager to range find that distance. But I'm following it. It starts to come above me. It goes. I mean, it's just making all these erratic movements, and it finally goes over my right shoulder, off to the northwest. And if that's still captured on his thermal imager, ooh-wee, that's going to be some really good footage.
Yeah, I mean, if we've got any of that, it'll back up what we're saying. This is what happened, folks. The fact that there were things in the sky that you couldn't see with the naked eye, that boggles my mind. It boggles my mind that I could just see the clear sky with the stars, and then but then looking through the eyepiece, there's these multiple cloud formations right above us, and I'm just like, how is that And I tried to logically say, okay, could that somehow be moisture that hasn't formed into a cloud yet, or the camera was picking up a difference in heat, and it looked like clouds. So it even showed the outline of puffy clouds with the red in the more internal parts of the clouds were showing heat. So I don't know what to say about that. I just don't really know what to say. I just know that it happened, and I hope we have a video for it, because it's gonna be a part of this this whole 8 days that I was there. And I even want to walk down there on the trail at some time today and just kind of go over it in the area that it happened. Okay, last night, Jason and I were out walking. We went probably about, I don't know, 2 miles total, 2.5 miles total. And on our way back, coming up this road, we'd stopped multiple times. Now, there was one time we stopped on the side of the road and actually laid back and was looking at the sky. You saw some shooting stars. You saw some satellites moving. The sky was spectacular. But on our way back, there was lots of conversation. We talked about all of our past Bigfoot sightings and people that we knew. The conversation was nonstop. So, you know, we were quite the spectacle in the darkness. But while we were standing there in the darkness talking, there was a flash of light. And we're standing in the dark talking, and I see Jason's face light up. It was one of those, it was kind of shocking that I'm having to absorb what happened. Because I see his face light up in the total darkness, and then it's gone. The light is gone, and I'm just like, and then we both paused, and we were like, did you see that? What was that light? So I'm going to say I laid awake last night thinking about that. I've never had anything like that happen. And I made a post about it. And I've had several people, welcome to the woo side. Oh, when it happens and you'll never forget it and blah, blah, blah. And another person said something about the woo. And I was like, listen, why do you need to jump off into that water? I said, we were just laying on the side of the road watching falling stars. And I remember being back in Oklahoma one time on a dark road, turning down, going down to Lee Creek. And I did a video about Lee Creek. It's a good video, but I remember turning that corner, and immediately right in front of my vehicle, the biggest meteorite I had ever seen, meteor or meteorite or whatever, it had flames behind it, and it was right over the hood of my vehicle, and it was dark. If I had a game camera looking just up a little bit, you'd see it was so close, and it was so bright, you could see just the tail. And I was so amazed. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And it was gone. But for a moment, it was right there in front of me, and it was huge. That's my only thing that I've ever seen that even was come close. That's probably what happened here. We probably had one that was so close. Just at that moment, we weren't looking up like we were that one time on the side of the road.
Last night, as we were walking back up the road, now, this is my recollection. As we were stopped, pausing, and we were kind of face to face, you were looking west, I was looking east. It didn't come from the sky. It came from the trees.
It did seem like it came over my head because your face lit. So it was kind of weird.
So two different perspectives, but it was just like on your phone when you take a picture with the flash, it was just
because I looked down I was like, where's my phone? I thought maybe it was just a flash of the screen.
I thought it was your thermal.
I thought it was my monitor or something. So I was looking because it was one of those type of sensations where it was just a flash of light and it was gone. And that happens when your phone is sitting on a counter and all of a sudden it turns on or something. It's that flash and then it goes off. That's what it seemed like until we absorbed it. And was like, well, the light was from above, and it seemed like it was back in the trees, but it was hard. It's hard in the flash of a moment. It's hard to get all the details.
Exactly.
I just knew your face lit up.
Well, especially when we're yapping back and forth, and it happens like that. However, I'm 100% positive that earlier, as we were walking down, just like I described, a dead lighter, when you flick that flint.
Because you thought it was eye shine. Possibly.
I thought at first, but I was looking dark, directly in that dark spot, and it was just a quick flash, and I sat there and stared. That's never happened to me before.
Yeah.
So, in two separate areas, two different types of light sources.
Wait, they may not have been too far apart, because
No,
the one happened on the way down could have been in the very same area, and then on the way back up is when we had the light flash.
Correct.
So it could have been very close to the same area.
Very close. Probably within 50 yards, maybe 100 yards.
Right.
So it was definitely something that never happened before.
Well, and I just want everybody to know, I'm still not ready to go over to the woo side. To me, there's too many logical explanations that we just don't understand yet. And the fact that we weren't looking up means we can't rule out anything from the sky.
Correct.
So we have to be honest and logical about it. I'm open to it. That's why I'm explaining to you what happened to us last night. It's interesting. It made us say, "Wow, that's I gotta think about that." But I liked it. It's just part of the ambiance up here. You got all these geological features. You could just walk around and pick up quartz, crystals and things like that. So there's a lot going on here. That's behind the curtains that we're unaware of, as far as geology and what kind of magnetic fields and things like that. So that's always interesting to me. But so far, we're one night in. As a pair, he might have something to do today. Maybe I'll be here alone tonight. But
I'm here tonight for you.
In the next few days, especially over the weekend, we should get a lot done, cover a lot of ground, go to different locations. So be ready. The videos coming from here are going to be pretty good. This is the 12-hour audio recording that was collected on my first night in. Now, you saw the video where we placed this log recorder on a stump down west and downhill from our camp location. So you can see this timeline up here. That's the 12 hours of audio, and this is compressed. So I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. So when you start stretching it out, you can start seeing the separation of the audio better. So this first 8 minutes, you can see the timeline up here, 1 minute, 2 minutes. So this first 8 minutes is myself and Jason arming the recorder, the parabolic log, and then going down and setting it up on a log. So you can see all of this red audio. That's because it's like maxed out on the audio scale. So I'm going to stretch it out a little bit further so you can see there's a lot of talking going on. So I'm going to go down here to the 7 minute 30 second mark, so we can see where the conversation is towards the end.
And I won't. What if something stays in the wood line up here? I just want to make sure I got it all. There you go. There you go. All right. There you go. Yeah, so coming up through there, coming up through here, straight on up. Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, so that was the end of our conversation at the 8 minute mark, after we had set the log on a stump. So you can see the way the audio line, as we leave the scene, gets very narrow, where there's hardly any sounds at all. an occasional sound like here. You'll see a little blip in the radar. But all of these are just, I mean, it's still daylight. I think it was around 7 o'clock is when I put this out. So I'm going to, when I click over here, it switches to the next frame. And right now I've got it set at at 8 minutes. So every time I click, it'll go to the next 8-minute mark. So you can see it's pretty flat lined. So the audio at this point is a whole lot of just ambient noises. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the 5-hour mark. So I'm going to back out and go to the 5-hour mark. Okay, you can hear that was a knock. Now, so you can see in this audio line that it's pretty much flat. There's not a whole lot going on, but you can see there's noises here that turn out to be some type of knocks. But back here at 5:02, somewhere around 5:02, there's going to be what sounds like footsteps. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these up just because they're interesting. And they start somewhere around here. You can see 5:02. There's a knock right here. You can see that little bump. See that bump in the line? So it's been flatlined for quite a while. But when you get to this little bump, it's a knock. And you'll tell when you hear it. But after that, you can see these undulations here in the line. They're tough to see because they're just barely audible above the ambient noise. So it just shows just a pattern of something in this stretch here. To me, that sounds like footsteps. So let's hear this knock at 5:02. So that was maybe some distance away. And then as it's coming up into these undulations in the line here, they sound like steps. And then they're over. You can see in the pattern that they were pretty evenly spaced, and then some of them got spaced further apart where like it was stepping with a purpose and then slowed down or maybe took another step, and then at some point you can't hear them anymore. And that happened right after that first little knock. But the knock did not sound like it was super close. So let's go to the 5:09 mark, which will show another knock. So you can see it flat line, flat line, flat line, and then you've got an indentation in the line here. So we're going to go ahead and listen to that. So did you hear that? That too sounds like a knock. So now we're going to go to the 5:12, which is only 3 minutes later. And there's 2 knocks at 5:12. 5 hours and 12 minutes. You hear that? Okay, so you've got that there. And, you've got little incidental noises here. And they all sound like knocks, but they're so randomly placed on the line. You can see the flat line with these just randomly placed knocks, which seems kind of odd. So then you go back to a stretch where there's nothing but flat line. And I want to get to the next thing that I marked on this timeline, which is at 6 hours, 6 hours and 9 minutes. And it's a sound that I want you to hear because it is really odd. So it, well, I'll let you hear it and then we'll go from there. It's going to be at 6:09. Now, what in the hell was that? It reminded me of, you know, those door stoppers that you have on your bedroom wall that that's made of a spring so that when your door hits it, but if you flick it with your finger, it goes boing. That's what that sounds like. It's weird. I have no idea what that is, but it happened around, see, 7 o'clock. We put it out. So 6 hours after 7 o'clock would be about 2 a.m. Well, 5 hours would be midnight. So this is 1 a.m. So now we will go to the next time marker that I had. 6:16, we've got another knock. Now that you could tell is some distance away. And it hardly has a line there, but you can see that it is a line that shows a sound in the distance. And then the last one that we have is at 8:52. Now that was a pretty good one. So you see, look at all of this flat line with nothing, no sound. The only ambient sound is whatever the wind is, and then you've got that knock out in the middle of nowhere. This is a drone shot of our campsite, so it's an aerial view. There's the canopy underneath that tree cover, and you can see Jason's truck over there to the left, just beyond the entrance to the landing from the logging road. So right behind the canopy towards the uphill, towards the roadside, it goes up pretty steeply to a landing area, kind of just a flatter area, mostly comprised of rock and gravel and a lot of scrub. So that is the area that people have reported 3 weeks prior on a previous outing in this same location. Multiple people heard footsteps up in that area. So that's why I was concentrating one of my recorders up in that area. So this is an overview of where it is in relation to the campsite. And now let's get into it. All right, everybody. The platform up there that footsteps were heard is probably from that area up there. The campsite is just out of view down there. And there's this grove of trees with a space in the middle. And that's where I put the recorder pointed uphill. So anything on this other side of these trees wouldn't know anything's going on in here. Man, all we need is something walking up there and we're gonna catch it good. I'm going to just take a look around this gravel area that we may or may not have heard footfalls in. So I want to get a look at where it's at in relation to camp, and then go from there. All right. Camp is down there somewhere. I think I see something down there. So that may be the canopy. So actually this is quite a ways up. I might have to bring a recorder up here rather than placing it down there on the hillside, pointed up here. I think I need to bring one up here so I can get a better understanding of what's happening above us. Okay, everyone, this is the audio from the recording log the first night that Jason and I went on the hike. And we also had the recorder down at the west end of camp where we picked up quite a few knocks. So this is actually the recording above the campsite pointing towards a landing that was maybe, another 50, 60 yards above the campsite, a gravel flat area. Okay, so this is where I was putting on my thermal gear so that we can take off walking.
But let's just say we saw something in some thick brush and I wanted to go after it. So we've got the area over there to the west monitored by audio. We are ready. What we came for. Absolutely.
Okay, so that was it. You can see the cluster of audio on the spectrum here. It tapers off, and that's it. That was as myself and Jason took off walking down the logging road from camp. So you can see from 20 minutes all the way to 32 minutes. So we're talking 12 minutes, nothing but flat line. So we'll go and here it is, from 32 minutes to 48 minutes, nothing but flat line, just silence, ambient sounds. So now we're going to scroll on through the timeline, and as you can see, nothing. So it's got to be getting close to where we're about to return. Okay. Let's go to this and see if that's us returning.
Great, her place is.
Okay.
And,
so that is us returning. Now you can see there's some slight undulations in the line here. So at 241 is the very first time that Jason and my voices, as we're returning, is being registered on this audio line. So 241 is when you can first hear him and me talking in the distance as we're coming towards camp. So somewhere here, a few minutes before, I'm looking for any movement that is happening around camp. So if there's something there, they should be making a move pretty soon to make sure that they vacate before we show up. Right now we're at the 2 hour and 34 minute mark. I believe it was around 2:37 that I heard footsteps. Okay, there was something. Let's we got to go back to that. Okay, at the 2:34 mark, you can hear something. Okay, and that might have been a step or two. So now you can still hear it. Okay, there's more. Okay, for these several seconds, around the 2 hour 37 minute mark, you hear multiple movement, possible steps, and I will raise the volume on that so you can hear it. And within 4 minutes, you can hear me and Jason for the first time. As we get closer and closer to the moment that you can hear Jason and I, 2 hours and 40 minutes, you can start to hear the mumbling of our voice as we approach. So it's around the 2 hour and 40 minute mark that you can really start to hear us in the distance.
And thank you. That was an enjoyable trip. I agree.
Okay, so 4 minutes prior to hearing us come around the bend and up in that area, that's the one and only time you hear movement. There's some movement. I mean, it's not very close to the recorder, but it may have been up in that landing area, that gravelly area. Of course, there was a lot of trees up there. It was just an area that you could get up to, and the fact that a few weeks prior, more than one person claimed to have heard footsteps up there. That's why I was monitoring that area. And in light of the things that are going to happen in the next couple of days, the next few days on this trip, I believe this is important. It's important that we were being monitored on that first couple of nights. The knocks, the footsteps here, and eventually it turns into a couple of different thermal captures. And so I think it shows that you know our goal was to monitor for a couple of nights and just try to get an idea of what was going on. And that is what happened. So now, once we knew what was happening, then we can start changing up our tactics, putting out the game cams, and preparing for visitors.
For the